So what I want to start with is Plato. I have no idea what book this is from, but as I told you offline, I have this folder, and it's all just like screenshots of parts of pages of Plato, and then I named them. He has a cool definition of friendship that I'd like to read because I've been thinking about friendship for a while. Um, this is Philia. Philia friendship, agreeing about what is admirable and just, deciding on the same way of life, having the same views about moral decision and moral conduct, agreeing on a way of life, sharing on the basis of benevolence, sharing in rendering and accepting favors. That's it.
Beautiful.
So I'll share something about what I think about it to start.
Yeah.
I think it's cool because I never heard a definition of friendship, and I don't know. I spoke about it with my brother, and he was saying like a friend should be kind of on the same moral level of some sorts. So he was saying you can't really be friends with, I don't know, a saint or something like that unless you're more saintly yourself. So I thought it was interesting that there's a bit of an emphasis on having the same views about moral decision and moral conduct, or like agreeing on a way of life. I think that makes sense. And what I found beautiful was sharing on the basis of benevolence. Thought it was cool.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like just as you were reading that, I was reflecting. I was talking to you offline. I'm on a trip with a friend, and I've just been reflecting on the conversations we've had about what's going on in the world
Uh-huh.
and uh, our kind of not just like our opinions on it, but kind of just like um kind of if we were in charge, how we would do things. And there's just so much overlap with like how we
Hmm.
see the world and um just to have to have it put in that language, it kind of reinforces to me the legitimacy of the friends that I have.
Hmm.
And it's also making me think about like so much about how we talk about what makes friends compatible is on the basis of like shared interests and
Yeah.
um maybe personality similarities. And I think this Plato's calling us to go deeper than that and like really examine the person's like moral compass,
Yeah.
what they believe is just and fair, and and yeah, just thinking about it that way, I really like that.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think you can. I don't know. I definitely have tried to be friends with people who just had a fundamentally different way of living. A lot of them like gym bros. And and it's funny because I invited some to my birthday that, they were kind of friends, but not really. And my wife was always pushing me, like, what do you mean friends? Like, who are your
Hmm.
friends? And she could always very clearly see a difference in the vibe and the way of living. That was very essential. So I definitely recognize that, where
Yeah.
kind of outside of the context of the gym, for example, or whatever it may be, the football game, or you'll find out more about
Hmm.
if you can really be a friend with someone.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like what is their ontological stance towards
Mm,
reality? And I feel like a good test of a friend or really like any relationship, boss,
yeah.
partner, is like how do they handle being in a novel situation?
Mm, mm,
Like do they kind of grasp for comfort? Do they try and flee the situation? Or do they try and stay open and like try and find the beauty in it. I
Mm.
think that that says a lot about like a person's stance towards reality of like, am I opening towards reality and am I looking for ways to grow, or am I looking for the things that I'm like good at and trying to like optimize or
Yeah,
maximize for that? And I think that's a lot of people that I've met have fallen into that former camp of like, yeah, like a gym. The gym's a great example because it's like a source of confidence, a source of identity, a source
yeah,
of like strength for a lot of people,
yeah.
which is beautiful.
Hmm.
And like I think those things should be, strived for. But like if it's used kind of like as a crutch for like this kind of I don't know what it's like in your friends if it's
Yeah,
like false macho confidence that's masking an insecurity or whatever it is.
yeah,
Um
yeah,
yeah, that kind of points to like a different stance towards reality than like
yeah,
striving towards the transcendentals, which
yeah,
is a
yeah, for
different way
sure.
of approaching it.
It's also funny. I was just thinking as you were speaking, like the way people approach a gym routine. Some people they get started and then they do something new because they learn something, and then they just stick to that thing and they hold on to it so tightly that they never really progress after that. Like I know people that have been doing the same exact thing for, like 5 years, and you don't see anything happen physically in their appearance, but also, yeah, with their character and their, the way that you adapt. That's so important. Like for me, that's a part of moving, is that you keep exposing yourself to new things, and so that way of life is like reflected in a way of moving your body. Uh and then behind that also is the motivation of why to move. That's a good one to think about too,
Yeah.
where that comes from.
Yeah.
um
Oh yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, because I don't know how far I'm maybe now straying away from the original
I'll go.
Plato, but
Yeah.
he'd probably like us to just follow the thread. But I've been thinking a lot about like, and this is not my idea, but how, the word emotion
Mm.
has motion in it,
Yeah.
and how a lot of, for me personally and people that I've observed, how much of like our suffering is not necessarily like because our circumstances are uniquely unbearable,
Yeah.
but because we experience a difficult emotion and we don't let it move. Like we ruminate about it.
Mm.
Or maybe we let it move, but like violently and like
Yeah.
rashly.
Yeah.
And for me, like, a walk or a run or a paddle board or a swim or whatever, like that can release so much like pent up emotion.
Yeah.
Um, and it's through the body, it's through moving. And I know there's a lot of people kind of in some circles that I am running in who are like really emphasizing the importance of the body and how we conceptualize
Mm.
like psychological and spiritual health, that like the body is where a lot of emotion originates from and where
Yeah.
it's stored, and also but also how it moves. And so I think what you were talking about with people who kind of do the same thing and it becomes kind of rote, it's
Yeah.
like they get to a point where they don't even really have to be present
Yeah.
with themselves, and like they're not
Yeah.
actually really encountering like risk.
Yeah.
Um and like, oh, can I actually do this movement with my body? Will it hurt me?
Yeah.
Um and like really having to like, yeah, like I find whenever I do a new exercise or pick up a new sport or whatever, it's like I'm learning to walk again.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a humiliating feeling for like
Yeah.
a very long time. Um, but it's also like very alive.
Yeah. It's so important. It's so difficult. I feel like once you get something down a little bit, you get comfortable with it. It's such a trap to kind of fall into it and not. Like I've been playing the piano. When I started playing the piano, I was learning new songs all the time. And it's something that I read as well. One of the Greek philosophers, Epictetus or something. I don't know. It's called in English. But he was saying that learning to play an instrument, or even a musician learning a new song, it sounds horrible, like it's terrible. And so I kind of fell in the trap of just holding on to what I knew, holding on to the songs that I was able to play. And it completely removes the learning experience, the humiliating, the humbling experience that's so important. And I find it's redemptive as well. And I can talk about it now and be all positive about it, but I know like when the next day comes, I'll be super resistant to these experiences. Like just now at work, I'm getting feedback. And I keep telling everyone around me, and I tell myself, like, I like feedback. I want feedback. It's good. I like feedback. I want feedback. It's good. And then I get it. And it's like, there's
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
there's this voice. It's like, I don't want to hear it. Shut up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's, man, that's such a challenge, even especially when you're getting older and more competent at things,
Yeah.
you
Yes.
still remain the child.
Yeah.
Um,
But
that's
then
the,
also not like, yeah, but also not like kind of submit yourself to the person giving the feedback and be like, "Oh yeah, sorry, like
yeah.
I'm yeah, totally clueless." And
Yeah.
like how to like maintain your like
Hmm.
adult like wise self and like the part of yourself that like believes in yourself and things like that, but like not let it get too big that
Yeah.
you become kind of callous. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on like what the role of friends in sorry, there's
I don't hear anything.
leaf blower outside.
No, I don't hear.
Um
It's all good.
okay, good. Um like the role of friends in in that, like in
Mm.
helping to expose you to novelty and help also hold you in the uncomfortability of it. Like, because I
Yeah.
think a lot of what the Plato quote was talking about with like finding people with like moral structures, um, and and the importance of that common ground. But I'm curious also the importance of exposing yourself to people of different
Yeah.
moral structures.
Yeah.
Um, and the yeah, the role of like, because I know there's a lot of friends who challenge my worldviews
Yeah.
in a good way. I mean, there's people that just say just like clearly, harmful things. And I'm not advocating you need to like befriend, MAGA supporters to challenge your worldviews, but um like the role of exposing yourself to difference
Yeah.
and how friends can hold difference, but also still find that like commonality that binds the friendship together.
Yeah. I think that's so important. And I think that's a real friend as well. When you recognize it. Um, I didn't used to think this was the case, but time told me differently. You find out that the people that kind of tell you when you're straying, for example, from the path, those are the most important ones.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, speaking of my brother, he did that from the very start. And I think as time progressed, I've learned to keep the friends that are able to call me out, or yeah, the ones that are able to humble me with love. And I'm able to do the same to them. Like when I really go down the list of who I consider very close friend of mine, all of them, we have different religions, like political opinions, like uh, jobs, way of life. Like it's almost all different, but there's definitely a large shared. What did Plato say? Let me go back to what he said.
Yeah, yeah. I
That was good.
want to also
Yeah.
be reminded again.
Yeah, sharing on the basis of benevolence, sharing and rendering and accepting favors. I'll just start it one more time.
Hmm.
Friendship, agreeing about what is admirable and just, deciding on the same way of life, having the same views about moral decision and moral conduct, agreeing on a way of life, sharing on the basis of benevolence, sharing and rendering and accepting favors. Like, I really feel that this resonates with me and the people I have around me, and while at the same time being so different just on a lot of surface level things, but even things that are slightly deeper. But then the most fundamental thing is that shared basis.
Mm.
Um, that's essential. And I also know a friendship is not going to last if that's not the case. So I can
Yeah.
usually find out pretty quick with the person how deep the friendship is going to be able to go.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to also explore like what is maybe what do we think he means by morality and like what do we think morality is?
Mm,
Because I think I got caught in the trap when I was younger of thinking morality just had to do with political views
mm,
of like
yeah,
right and wrong, right? Like who to vote for, what type of economic political system do you feel like is the most just, promotes the,
interesting.
you know,
Yeah,
and like what does just even mean? Does just mean equality of opportunity and outcome? Does justice mean um uh something, maybe more spiritual, like
yeah,
the 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 justice, the equality in being able to pursue what one deems as success, like because I feel like I've expanded my idea of what a moral life means from being able to, achieve financial independence
mm,
and being able to express political freedoms to um, being able to express what I deem as beautiful and like and have that be accepted and championed and like
yeah,
and also things like community,
mm,
being able to build community that sometimes exists outside of the political structures. So like
yeah,
um because I feel like in the traditional sense of morality, some of my friends might we might not overlap on some things.
yeah,
And I notice as I'm getting older, my views are becoming more nuanced.
uh,
Um, that's also changing. Some things that we might have agreed on before is like it's changing a little bit.
yeah,
But I feel like the thought experiment of if we were all in like tribal society, if we were all back in tribal societies and like we had to live with a group of whatever, 100 people, and like we had to decide on everything together and we had to make sure that like our kids were taken care of and our land was stewarded and everything, like would I want this person to be part of that tribe? Like what would I trust them to be like a person that I could rely on
yeah,
in my tribe? Um, and I feel like even if you have different politics, even if you have different perspectives on things, like if you're oriented towards the good, um,
yes,
eh, that stuff it's not that it doesn't matter because it does still matter, but it becomes of secondary importance, I
yes.
think.
It becomes so much less than what we often make it out to be, for sure. Well, I'd like to go into what you said at the start, which is understanding what morality is. Um, and you spoke about what you first thought morality was and now that you think about it differently. Um, I feel if I think about morality, I really think about something that has to be in action, but also in mind and heart. Like it has to
Mhm.
be aligned in all levels. Like for me, in my way of viewing the world, it can't just be like I'm not harming anyone, but inside of my mind, I have murderous thoughts all the time. Like I don't feel like that's morality. I think what Plato is really reaching for is this, yeah, this aligned way of seeing. So
Mhm.
this peace that you get within yourself as well when you're an aligned human being. This beauty that you experience, this longing for the good, it has to come from within, and it's expressed also into your actions. But it's like it's every fiber of your being and your soul, like all of it, directed toward the good. That is really like living a moral, yeah, a moral life, like a high moral conduct, and that can go different ways as well. And then justice. I really like this idea that I've heard expressed before by uh, John Vervaeke.
Mm.
And he was like, justice is not fairness.
Yeah.
If you want to find out what justice is, and he wouldn't define it, right? Like he wouldn't give you a definition, which I really like. He's like, an exercise you can do is like, imagine Lady Justice. See the symbol of Lady Justice here. I don't know what it looks like exactly, but sit with that and try to, because you kind of have a grasp of it actually in your body. Like you actually know it much better than you think, because the unconscious knows 90% more than the conscious does, as Jung would argue.
Totally.
So if you sit with the symbol of justice, which we have a symbol for, you can actually start to realize its depth. And then I think you can also see that it's much more than just what you think is right or wrong or fair or yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see
Yeah, I like that.
agreeing about what is admirable and just. Yeah. Yeah. And just similar to love, just is not superficial.
Mm.
Similar to love being like you can love someone and kind of, as we spoke about with the friendship, tell them that they're straying from the path, give them the harsh truth. What is just is sometimes also not pretty or smooth. Like it's much more than that. Uh, yeah. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I really like everything you're saying. And it reminds me of what John talks about with love not being a feeling, but a existential stance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I feel like justice is that too. Like, and this is not something that I feel like I uphold, but I feel like it's the virtue, right?
Yeah.
And that's what makes it a virtue, right? It's something that you can't always nail is justice has to be the same for your enemy as it is for your friend,
Mm.
or else what is it?
Yes. Yes.
Like,
That's good. Oh, that's
and
excellent.
so if I'm arguing that justice means the ability to freely express one's views, as long as it isn't harmful to others, it's like and the fairness to be able to see the humanity of everyone. It's like, okay, like what happens if I encounter someone who, I don't know, like if I run into one of the people who raided the U.S. Capitol, a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
and I have all this hate in my heart that I would imagine I probably would have
Uh-huh.
if I did meet that person. And it's like I imagine it would be really hard, but the ideal would be like how to hold, how to still be fair to that person. And what you said is it doesn't. And what John says, it doesn't mean fairness. So like it's not like you're condoning. It's not like you're also like not acknowledging the harmful effects of someone's actions. It's not like you're also not advocating for punitive measures if it's necessary, and being honest. But like maybe there's a part of justice. Yeah, I feel like I believe this. Like there's a part of justice that has to involve redemption.
Mm.
And I think this is where like the Christian story is so valuable and is just such a obvious kind of guiding light of justice because it's like God it's not like God didn't judge, like God did a lot of judging in the Old
Yeah.
Testament of
Yeah.
people who mainly people who denied him, right, like people who turned away from him, um but he never once uh um abandoned them and foreclose is the word I was looking for. Foreclose the path to redemption.
Yeah.
Like that was never the move he made. And I feel like so many people today have this kind of conditional justice where it's like, okay, I believe in justice if you agree with me, but if you don't agree with me, you're, you know, Hillary Clinton called the Trump supporters deplorables. Like
Yeah.
you're beyond reproach kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's like a really like to actually like inhabit that is like it's like when I've tried to, it's like physically painful.
Yes.
Like it takes like a physical toll to like hold in your heart compassion for the people who most don't want to hold it for.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like that's what, the people that we look as icons of justice, Jesus, you know, MLK, Gandhi, all these people like feel like that's what they were able to do. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm curious how you think about that.
Yeah, I agree with you also on the point of the beyond reproach. I think that is indeed part of this. It's part of this trying to stay in that stance of justice doesn't discriminate between people. Like justice is, yeah, what you said, same for your friend as for your enemy. I find that the more that I love people, the more that I have really deep connections to people, the more that I can understand violence and I can understand, war and stuff like that. And I think if anyone would do anything to my wife or to my little brother, something like that, uh, and then to still step back and yeah, justice doesn't discriminate. To remember that in your heart,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
that's really powerful. I think
Yeah. Yeah. Is it okay if I share like a personal
that's up
kind
to
of
you.
anecdote?
It's up
Yeah.
to you. Yeah, I'm all.
Um, yeah, I don't want to share, too much on it because I know, this is going to go out in the world, but,
Go viral.
I had, I have a very strained relationship with my dad and,
Mm,
he has clinical narcissism. And so
mm,
there was a lot of, mainly emotional abuse, but,
yeah,
some physical abuse as well towards me and my sister and my mom. And I'm estranged from him for it's been about 5 years. And a couple of years ago, I did my senior thesis in undergrad on spiritually transformative experiences and kind of focused on near-death experiences
yeah,
and kind of focusing on like how to facilitate those in therapy for like the greatest, sources of transformation. And the reason I picked that topic is because my therapist brother had a podcast and he interviewed someone who studies near-death experiences. He's like the pioneering researcher. He's been
ah,
studying it for like his whole career, psychiatrist, like yeah, it was just really fascinating to
I'd
me.
love to listen to that actually.
Yeah, yeah, I'll
Please,
definitely send it to you after this.
yeah,
And he had this one episode where he read some of the testimonials from this guy's book of people who've had them. And this is a very common phenomenon I'm about to share, but it was just one that was really powerful. This guy had a near-death experience. I think um, he got in a car crash or something. And during his experience, he relived his childhood trauma through his mother's eyes, the
mm,
one who was perpetrating the violence on him.
mm,
And he saw how she was a wounded girl, how she wasn't
mm,
loved by her parents. And it was like the first time where he was really able to reconcile and forgive her.
yeah,
Um, and I was walking alone in a forest, and I started crying. And I had to sit down because I was crying so hard.
mm,
And it was like this moment where I had kind of intellectually been able to be like, my dad had a really rough childhood,
yeah,
lost his dad very
yeah,
young. His mom remarried very quickly. He felt like she didn't grieve his death, and
mm,
didn't have good male role model. I was able to like intellectualize like why he became the person he was, but that was like a real visceral experience of it.
yeah,
And I tell that to people as like the first time I really experienced what forgiveness
Mm.
or like had an inkling of what forgiveness actually felt like.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I was trying to emphasize the justice for your enemy because
Yeah.
I was so I was it had been years since I had cut him out of my life and I was still kind of repeating the same patterns and I still had kind of the same angers and frustrations about things that I had had and that was like it wasn't this like panacea like oh wow now I'm enlightened moment but
Yeah.
it started this opening towards more love and I think what you said about when you love people you understand you
Yeah.
understand their capacity for violence. I think that's so true. I feel like I kind of learned it in reverse. Like
Hmm.
I experienced violence and I had to really encounter that to be able to
Ah,
love. Um,
wow.
and yeah, um, it's a real it's a real trip.
Yeah.
But I think it's so true.
That's super
Um,
powerful.
and now I feel like, my kind of what God has put me on the earth to do is to facilitate that um what we were talking about earlier that motion
Yeah.
from pain to love to
Hmm.
beauty because that's the one I have to do that every day like
Yeah.
every day go through that
Yeah.
process
Do you feel like they're close to each other?
love and violence
Well, yeah, you said, yeah, from pain to,
oh from pain
yeah,
to like to beauty
yeah, I don't know why I feel this so strongly, but I've been feeling it lately.
yeah
Do you think that?
yeah I think there's I think love is a longing like
Mm,
the thing that you love, the person that you love, um, for it to really be love, it has to be like slightly out of your reach. Or and I think you've talked about this before on your podcast, like it has to be a mystery.
mm,
Like your wife, the moment your wife ceases to be a mystery to you, the moment she's an object
mm,
to you.
mm,
And and I think that's painful.
mm,
Like there's a lot of pain with that
yeah,
because it means in some respect that you have to be humble and you have to let go of your pride. You have to let go of, oh, I've known her for so and so such and such
yes,
amount of time.
yes,
We have the deepest conversations, like she wants to spend the rest of her life with me. Like surely I know her.
uh,
I spend every waking hour, I live with her. I spend
yeah,
every waking hour
yeah,
with her, but
yeah,
um to maintain the distance, to see the person or the thing or whatever as alive, as
mm,
constantly changing, as constantly evolving. I think there's a lot of pain in that. Um,
yes,
but I think the trap that people fall into, that I've fallen into before, is that they think that you you need to subject yourself to pain before you can love.
mm,
And and I think if you're a Christian, you reject that. You say God has loved me in spite of my sin and in spite of all of the pain that either I have inflicted on others or I've inflicted on myself, and I don't need to earn his salvation. It's already here.
mm,
And in fact, I need him to bear the pain of what it means to love.
uh,
But yeah, those are just some thoughts. I'm curious if it's been
uh,
alive for you. I'm sure you have thoughts of your own.
just listening, it's so good. Yeah, yeah, let me pick it up. Pain. Maybe it has something to do with also gripping tightly to what you know. Like
Mm,
that's the theme of the conversation, right? The known and the unknown is the mystery. To kind of dance with that at all times. It's exactly what we've been talking about. It's the most redemptive, the most powerful experience to humble yourself to it. Um, but it's the most rewarding and it's the most painful, and it's the thing that puts you. And I have this like, oh man, I have this every single week. You know, you do something stupid, and she'll
Mhm.
call me out on it. And there's a part of you that's like, it wants to confirmation bias, whatever. Say, no, no, no. Like it wants to, it's a pride, right? And then there's always a higher part of me that's like, what have I done that I could have done better? Or, yeah. And,
Mm.
and it's like that with loving her or loving life or loving whatever it is. Maybe you're loving the body too much,
Mhm.
afraid of aging, like all these things, they're all intertwined. But I digress.
Mm.
That you have to stay open to the changing nature of things, the mystery of things, and you have to kind of let go. And that's the way you actually love better. Because otherwise
Mm.
it's clinging. Otherwise it's, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not with the full being. You're not there. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I think.
Yeah, I'm no expert on Aristotle, but there's some people in my life who are, and he talks about um it's like called like the Aristotelian clearing. Like he talks about like there being like a clearing that needs to happen to essentially allow love or just like the fullness of being in. And I think a lot of that clearing is the letting go of our walls, of our ego walls.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Yeah, I'm curious like you know, I don't want you to feel like you have to speak for your wife, but like in those moments, where you're able to respond with your higher self
Yeah.
and and be open to, because I have the same thing. I live with my landlord and she has all these particularities that just kind of irk me. And sometimes I feel like it's really unjust. And it's a struggle to like respond in kind without just submitting yourself to something that you might feel is like unfair criticism or a
Yes.
particularity that feels kind of unruly.
Yeah.
Um, and so how have you figured out that dance?
Yeah, man, it's not just. It's it's discernment. It's discerning when criticism is correct or you know, when you should stand your ground on something. It's trying to inflict justice on your own life. Like look at yourself with the eye of justice and look at the other person with the eye of justice. Don't be blinded. That's what I try to do. Because sometimes I do think like I really want to make sure that I'm not just saying sorry for sorry's sake. I want to make sure if I apologize for doing something wrong or for not doing something or forgetting something, that it's just. And um, I mean, she's great. She's great at discerning, and she's also great at seeing when she maybe is overstepping or if she's criticizing something that is not fair. But it rarely happens. I always tell her like you're a
Mm,
really good judge, and it's like
mm,
not
mm.
not to call you a judgy person, but she's just
Yeah,
really
yeah,
good at judgment. Like
yeah.
she cares
In the
about
best sense of the
competence a
word.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so she judges when she judges me, she does so super correctly. Um, and there's never like bitterness or resentment behind it. But she's helped me so much with this very process.
Mm,
And I help her as well. Like it's not like she's the saint and I'm the fool or anything.
right, right, right.
It's she has her own things, but I always tell her you're working on them all the time.
Mm,
And sometimes I feel like I need a bit more of a push or something.
mm,
Kind of how I
yeah.
function. I always need the pain. I'm someone that needs the pain of doing something.
Uh-huh.
Like I burned a
Uh-huh.
toaster twice last week, 2 weeks ago. I literally roasted bread to do a crisp twice in a row in a matter of 20 minutes. And like that was so symbolic for the mistakes that I make and what I do.
Yeah.
Like I'm someone that, You can tell me the lesson, but I
Yep.
need to have lived it myself. And
Yep.
I've done that so many times with so many things.
Yeah.
It just keeps happening, but
Yeah.
it,
No, I'm the same way. I so the camping trip that I told you about, I'll
yeah,
just share briefly. I was originally gonna do a paddleboard camping trip. I was
yeah.
gonna go up for a day on this bay and camp. And so I bought all this gear and dry bags and I had everything bungeed on my kayak and the kayak was like halfway in the water, like I was all ready to go. And I had my flip-flops on and I sat down on my kayak to take my flip-flops off and the weight like snapped my fin clean off. Like
Oh,
it just broke off. So all that months of prep, all that gear, everything, like in a matter of seconds, like just like
man.
that, taken away. And I had to do this walk of shame back to my car, and it was just like so embarrassing. And but I was like, okay, I have two options. I can either go home and like just like pout about it, or I have everything packed for camping. I can see if there's a campsite available. And sure
Uh,
enough, there was, and it was an amazing night. And I sometimes think that um like I've just noticed in my life recently a theme has been like responding and not reacting to
mm,
like
yeah.
because sometimes I just really frustrate myself with like how incompetent I am, or just like just dumb, silly mistakes. It's like
Yeah,
I can have a really like powerful conversation, and then I can go and you know cut my finger cutting something, and it's like
yeah,
man, just like you just get humbled immediately. It's like this
yeah,
shouldn't be happening. Like
yeah. I have that.
I shouldn't be doing this.
I have.
Um, but I'm sure it helps to have someone, a partner who I'm sure. I mean, maybe she gives you a hard time about some things,
Yeah,
and
but yeah, yeah, it's like it's helpful.
laughs at it, but gives you grace
Yes, she
at
does.
the
She
end of the day.
does. She does. And you need to do that to yourself as well. But
Yeah.
sometimes what I struggle with is that when I used to be alone and I made all these mistakes, the only one I was really hurting was myself. And
Hmm.
now that it's her, if I forget something or whatever, it's hurting her as well. And kind of that's accelerating my learning from mistakes
Yeah.
because I know the pain, like I feel it. Whereas before, if it was
Yeah.
just myself, I'd just be kind of whatever about it. Um,
Yeah.
so in
There's
that
stakes.
sense, so
Yeah, there's stakes now.
yeah, there's stakes, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've only gotten through one excerpt thus far. I
Yeah. Yeah.
didn't even know
Yeah.
it was.
We have 50 minutes left. Maybe we can speed
Yeah,
run here.
I shall I do another one or do you have one at the ready?
I don't have one at the ready. I've been trying to be as present as I
No, that's
can
good. Stay
with
like
you.
that. I'll
So,
do one. I'll
uh,
do one.
great.
All right.
Thanks.
Anyone who is happy began by being struck with awe at this cosmos, and then conceived the passion for learning all that a mortal can, believing that this is how to live the best and most fortunate life, and that when he dies, he will go to places where virtue is at home. Further, once he is really and truly initiated and has achieved perfect unity and a share of the one true wisdom, he continues for the rest of his days as an observer of the fairest things that sight can see.
Hmm.
I like that one.
Hmm.
I liked
What,
it the
what do you
most.
think strikes you most about it?
Well, this idea of awe is so important for me because I think it's the opposite of pride in a sense. Um, it's looking at something, experiencing something that's absolutely greater than yourself. So it's changing that view of the world from pride, where it's about you and your, you know, you're like inflicting your will on the world, to just pure humiliation. Humiliation, no, pure humbling, humility. Anyone who's happy began by being struck with awe at this cosmos.
Hmm.
Like it
Hmm.
just, it gives you a peace when you're struck with awe. And I think being struck with awe at the cosmos or nature, it's kind of a symbol for doing the same with God.
Mm,
It's like God is that, but infinitely more. It's like it's teaching you how to deal with that feeling. And then what I liked about it is that he went on to say, and then conceived the passion for learning, believing that this is how to live the best and most fortunate life. I didn't, I don't think it's an obvious link for people, this one. And when I
mm,
read it, I also didn't think it was an obvious link, but it clicked for me that I had the same. And I had it, this is a particular experience when I started reading Plato. I just read it for kind of shits and giggles, really, because I wanted to see what he said about Atlantis. And I remember just reading on from the Timaeus or whatever I was reading. And I was just in awe with the writing. I just thought it was beautiful.
yeah.
That's what I love about Plato. I find it beautiful. And yeah, that sparked for me this thing of like I want to read all of this. And I think it's similar with really truly being at all with something. It motivates you to be more like that if you're doing it
Mm,
proper. It's like the chimp seeing the the bigger chimp, right? There's these studies on this. Like the higher the other chimp is in status or whatever, the longer the other chimp will look at it.
mm,
It's the same with actual like human beings. Like the longer you stare at someone, if it's like someone similar to you, the more it's an indication that you're in awe with them. But it can take you two ways. It can take you to resentment, or it can take you to like it humbles you, and it's like, oh, maybe I can be like this. So it can give you this route of like, oh, I want to learn, you know,
yeah. Yeah.
to be more like that, to be more beautiful, to be
Yeah.
awe-inspiring yourself.
Yeah, it's a beautiful quote. Um, it's funny. Just yesterday I was talking with my friend. I started talking about I was bringing up like we had gone to a bar the night before and there was
Uh-huh.
this guy who was just like swearing like a sailor, like just saying the F word like every third word.
Yeah.
I was just reflecting to him like as I've gotten older, I've tried to use swear words as filler words like a lot less. Like because it just diminishes the meaning of like what you're saying.
Yeah.
And he was saying how he tries to use the word awesome
Ah,
more selectively because
yes.
like we say awesome for everything, but
That's
like
true.
how many things that we say it for do we actually mean like we were actually struck with like awe?
Yeah,
And he was like awe can be negative or positive.
that's true.
Um, and I thought that was really insightful. And and yeah, so I've been thinking about that and thinking about like what is like a genuine strike of awe? Like what is that? Um what is kind of the phenomenology of it? And I feel like the sense of like smallness, like in a not in like a diminishing way, but
Yeah.
like it has to be something like grander than you. Like
Yeah.
for me, a mountain like gives me that sense of awe.
Yeah.
Um, but then also interestingly, you talk about like the tallness of the chimp and stuff like that. Like people can conflate a um like they make icons out of
Yes.
status
Yes.
and they conflate that as awe. And then they think that, oh, I met a billionaire and I want to become a billionaire.
Mm.
I got struck by awe because I found someone that I want to be like.
Yeah.
But that never leads to true happiness that Plato's talking about. So like,
Yes.
yeah, like what's the line between true awe and idolatry?
Oh, that's good. That's good.
And we can also make idols out of genuine experiences of awe. We
Yeah.
can we can go on an ayahuasca trip and then we can make an idol out of the drug or
Yes.
the high of the experience, right? Um, and so yeah, all these things
Yes.
are it's such thin lines between the virtuous and the the not.
It's true. It's true. And it's so good that you say this because even the ayahuasca experience itself, the reality that you're interacting with, could be a false like idol. in a sense that yes, it's transcendent and it's higher than what you're able to experience in a normal state of mind. But maybe that's not even the ceiling, you know. Maybe you're still not getting it
Mm,
because really it always scales up until the very top, and no one can see the very top, you know. You can't. There's just no. You can, but like not really. No, you can't. Uh, no one is of that order. But I wanted to respond to what you said before that, this false feeling of awe. I remember when I saw the first famous person in real life, and I was so disappointed. That's the first time I could like discern for myself. It's like, that's not all that. Like, I thought these were the stars of our reality. And that's also kind of what started turning me on to philosophy and things like that. Where it's
mm,
just like there must be more, like there must be more than this. Because this feeling that I had of awe, it was kind of real, but I was just misdirected. So I need to redirect myself to something higher. And we even make that mistake with God, right? Like that we think we know what God is, and then we already messed up. So we've not
mm,
aimed high enough. We've not
mm,
we've not understood the experience of awe well enough. And I've been really feeling this disenchantment a lot. I spent so the year before I met my wife, I spent trying to be enchanted. And I was enchanted by so many different things. You know, from Egypt to like South American ancient civilizations, psychedelics, got into touch with like uh, these Peterson biblical lectures and all these podcasts about all sorts of things. And that was just pure enchantment. And I loved it. And I've been finding that the years that followed, a lot of it has just been like disenchanting a lot of the things that I'd learned. Like it's been deconstructing them and kind of sucking the magic out of them because I found out that perhaps the vehicle that transported that enchantment, so let's say Egypt, for example, it's not all that, you know? Or
mm.
like the South American temple that's 5,000 years old. It's not all that. But the thing is, the feeling of awe that I got, that's still real.
I see.
You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? Like it was
Yeah.
just misdirected, and
Yes.
so now I've lost. I lost this enchantment, but really I didn't lose it. I just need
Mm,
to relearn how to direct it properly because there's
mhm.
plenty of things to be in awe of.
Yeah.
So it's just relearning that.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I hear too in that is you realizing that the maybe like the people behind the pyramids
Yeah,
of Egypt that are awe-inspiring
yeah,
are
yeah.
just people who
There are
are
people.
flawed
Yeah,
and maybe I don't know the history of the pyramids, but didn't like a lot of slaves build them and like
probably. Yeah, yeah,
yeah
probably, or
and so
something like it.
there's a darkness behind pretty
Some
much
sacrifice.
everything.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. And
yeah,
so it sounds like what you're realizing is like anything short of the awe of God who's perfect is is going to come with it disenchantment
yes,
as much as it is enchanting. And yeah, maybe that's where the pain comes from that you were talking
yeah,
about earlier of like there's pain required to love because we all have our disenchanting sides to us.
yes.
Um, yeah, I don't really know where I'm going with that,
Well,
but
no, but I hear what you're
yeah.
saying. But I hear what you're saying. I want to pick it up because the pain, the pain is real, and I think that the disenchantment is, mm, how to say this? It's almost necessary, like the shedding of the layer. It's like necessary to lose the enchantment with the specific because it's not the specific you should be enchanted by, it's the mystery. And so why am I enchanted by the pyramids? Because they're a mystery. But really what I'm enchanted by is mystery itself. It's
Hmm.
it's that
Hmm.
feeling. And if I would find out how the pyramids were built, I would probably be disappointed.
Yeah.
but I'm still super interested in it. And that disappointment, that pain that I would feel is a lesson to point me higher. It's like, oh, it's not this, but you know, that don't mistake that now you should just be disillusioned with the world. That's not the
Yeah.
way it works. There's
Yes.
just higher things that
Yes.
you're maybe now
Yes.
becoming ready for.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what I think the pain plays a part.
I love that. I know we have 2 minutes left,
Yeah,
but
we can end it
oh,
on that.
I just wanted to respond to that
Yeah.
because I think what you're talking about is like the the tragedy of the Enlightenment is
Mm.
we said, how were the pyramids built?
Yeah.
Let's find out the mathematical scientific calculation about, and I don't know, I'm sure the Egyptians probably wrote
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff out, but like that's just an example. Like how like the Enlightenment's quest was to find a scientific explanation for every process.
Yeah.
And while that brought about a lot of like illuminating science, and
Hmm.
we owe so much to that, um, I think why it was a disenchanting age is because it it destroys the mystery of how were the pyramids built. Like that's
Yeah.
amazing that human beings could build something that,
Yeah.
that high, and then you find out how they did it.
Yeah.
And I mean sometimes that makes it even more
Yeah.
awe-inspiring. It's like,
Yeah.
oh wow, like they used that material and they used it in that way. Like
Yes. Yes.
that's incredible.
Yes.
So
That's
I'm not saying it never leads to more awe, but it I think it was an age fueled by trying to uncover mysteries so
mhm.
that we could manipulate processes so that we could get certain desired
Yeah.
results.
Yeah.
And I think that out of whack leads to a disenchantment, um, because you're essentially trying to take God and make him a machine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where we
Make
are.
him a calculus.
Yeah. AI.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's pick that up later. This is great. This is great.
Yeah.
I'd love to do more stuff like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is super
Mind
fun.
works.
I
Go back to
yeah,
your vacation and your time off.
yeah,
Thank you so much
totally.
for making the time for me, Michael. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
no, of course, always.
All right.
It's always a treat to chat. And yeah, I know we've had to reschedule a couple times, so I'm really glad that we were
Yeah.
able to at long last come
Yeah.
together. And it's always, yeah, I always learn so much.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you so much. Blessings to you.
You too.
Bye. Thank you, brother.